Welcome to the Speaker Toolkit. This is the brand new series for female speakers that really want to become the master of their voice and feel unwavering confidence in public speaking so that you can inspire big audiences with your message and really have the positive impact you know you are meant to have. My name is Gemma Barnes. I am a speaking and performance coach and the host of this brand new YouTube series, The Speaker Toolkit. I work with really high performing women that want to own the stage, master their voice and become famous from one speaking gig, one event, one speaking engagement. So let's dive into today's episode. Now, this episode is all about using talking points rather than a script. Now, when clients come to me to work with me one-to-one and they say, Gemma, this is what I think I want to talk on, we then come up with talking points for them. If a client comes to me and says, Gemma, this is my script, this is what I'm doing, I very politely tell them to scrap the script and let's put it into talking points instead. And my reasons behind this are, and you can grab a coffee, you can grab a cup of tea for this episode, because this is going to be a episode for your speaker toolkit that really makes you think about how you are delivering your speech, how you are preparing your speech, and what is going to set you up best. And I'm going to share my knowledge, my opinion of and years of experience on stages and working with aspiring speakers, performers, thought leaders that really want to captivate their audiences, own the stage and feel unwavering confidence when they are up on that platform or speaking on any platform. The reason why I will always advise my clients to format their speech in talking points rather than with a script is this. A script is added pressure. Talking points, we all talk, we all use our voice, we all know if this is the subject, we can talk about that. If it's something that you know, something you're interested in, it is far easier to follow a set list of talking points, and if you get lost, come back to a talking point, than it is to recite and memorize an entire script. You will find the more you practice your talking points, you're kind of saying the same thing anyway. It's like if you're recording content or you say the same intro. My intro, for example, with this, it's not a scripted intro. I literally know that I want to say that this is for female speakers that want to master their voice, that want to feel unwavering confidence in public speaking. It's not scripted a certain way. However, I do know what I want to put across. And it's exactly the same thing with a speech. It's the same with actually any of my content that you see. I don't have a specific script for things. I literally have talking points and I talk around them. And something that I have noticed very much as well, and it's interesting, I've got a number of clients that have tested out this same sort of two formats with, I've got a specific client that tried this out with her podcast. She scripted one and she literally recited the script. It wasn't filmed, it was just recorded. And then she did another episode that was very, very, very similar, but she just had points that she spoke around. That podcast episode did far better than the scripted one. And she said, I listened to it back and I was like, I sound like a robot because you're reciting things. And that's the biggest difference and why I'm so keen on talking points rather than a script. For not just for the reason of you're not having to memorize anything insane. You just have to know your set list. And even if you don't fully know your set list that flows from start to end, you can have a set list in front of you. You don't have a prompter then in front of you that has your script on and you're looking down and disengaging from your audience every time you look to the prompter. It's not a memory test. It's not a memory test when you're up on the stage. It's not meant to be a memory test. And when you have a talking point, if there's something in the moment that happens in that room, that happens with the audience, you are there in that moment to react to it, to respond to it, to add it in. It makes you so much more versatile and in control, because you haven't got this box, this set frame that you've given yourself. And this is why, you know, and if you work with me one-to-one, you'll know this, but the way I work with my clients is very different. I don't have a set framework. I don't have a set process. It is bespoke coaching. It is individual to you. You get unique to you and your voice tools when you work with me. It's not a case of one size fits all. I don't believe in one size fits all, which is why none of my training, you know, I'm a certified voice teacher and vocal coach. I trained in voice science, not a specific methodology, because I don't believe in one way. I don't believe in one size fits all. And that's why I'm not a massive fan of you using a script when you're delivering your speech, and why, you know, if I'm speaking on stages or I'm coaching clients to speak on stage, helping them prepare, script is the first thing that goes out the window. Because if you're reciting that script on stage, you lose your way, you can't remember what's next, you're kind of stuck. It doesn't allow you to be a human being either. It's putting on a performance that has a fourth wall, what I call a fourth wall. When you want audience participation, right? You want people joining in with what you say, and you can't deliver that if you have a very, very set, very rigid script or framework to be following. Now, how do you create your speech with talking points? Let's do that. Let's literally do that together right now. So what I want you to do, you can literally grab a notepad, grab a piece of paper if you want, and start writing something down at this point. Or you can literally just have a sip of your tea or your coffee like I'm about to, and be guided through this process just through listening. So the first thing you're going to do is, you can write at the top of the page, or you can just say it out loud now. What are you speaking about? Whether you've spoken on stage 100 times and you have something that you speak about all the time and you want to refresh it, or whether you've never spoken on stage and you want to put a speech together right now in this moment, let's go. What do you want to be talking about? Now, you can do this for different ideas. Just put them at the top of your page, whatever your ideas are, and then you can sort of flow down from each one. How would you start that? How would you open that speech? Now, what I do recommend you do is start with who you are. Start with a bit of your story. Never assume that an audience knows who you are. Even if you're stepping into a room, you know, a conference, an event where it's quite a tight-knit community and you think people probably do know who you are, never assume. Never assume. Always treat it like a room of people that know nothing about you. They don't know you, they don't know your story. Leave your in-jokes at the door. Create in-jokes in that room. That's how you involve an entire audience and you don't end up isolating people. Because what you'll end up doing is your 10% that get you, that know you, will be like, oh, they'll feel kind of special, they'll feel connected. The other 90% of the room will be like, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. So, introduction, and then you're going to drop down into what you want to talk about. So depending on what you're talking about, maybe you're telling your story, maybe you're teaching on something, maybe you're going to give some examples, maybe you're going to tell some client stories, maybe you're going to put in a section of your journey and add in, you know, something specific that the audience needs to know. Maybe you want a section of going out into the audience, participating with the audience. You want the audience to engage with you, you know, through a roaming microphone maybe. There's so much freedom with when you're on stage. You are in control. It is your time. There is no set way of doing it, which is why I am on a mission to break this frame of This is how you do your speech. This is what you need on your slide deck. This is, don't have a slide deck. Be the visual. One of my clients recently spoke at a big event and, we decided, do you know what? We're not having a presentation. We're not having any slides behind us because she is the visual. And let me tell you, she was. She was the visual. She was the main event. You didn't need to be looking at anything else. Are you leading up to a sale at the end or a giveaway, or, whether you're given you want people to get your freebie, you want people to buy into your program or your product or whatever it is that you're selling. Maybe actually you just want people to walk away thinking. So you want to leave them with that. The first thing I always ask my clients is, what do you want your audience to feel? What do you want your audience to do at the end of this speech? Because that's going to determine what you do before that. And when you've got talking points, you can jump between those talking points. You might even find that there's a moment within you speaking on stage that you think, I'm going to skip this next one. Actually, this isn't relevant. This doesn't feel right. I'm going to skip past this and come back to it. It gives you so much freedom. You can't do that when you've got a script. You can't do that when you've got a script. I think for me personally, because one of my biggest values is freedom and uniqueness and fun. So what I bring to the stage and what I want my clients to bring to the stage, I want to be one of a kind. I want it to be like no other. And I can tell you, when I go to an event where I know people maybe have been working with a specific coach, or I know they've been learning from watching other people, or they've worked with me, I can see a very stark difference. They're pacing back and forth. They're flicking through their slide deck. They're looking down at the prompter. They're following this very specific, old as time framework, snore. The room doesn't engage and relate to you in the same way as when you are there, you are live, you are present with them. Being present with your audience and connecting with your audience on a deeper level, that's how you convert your audience into lifelong clients. That's why talking points are so incredibly powerful. So going back to, whether you've done this on a notepad, or whether you're just thinking about it, I want you to write down some things that you could talk about or want to talk about, points you want to cover in your speech, what are really important. You're going to go back to this and you're going to go through this list again and decide, is this really that important? Do I need this? Or does this need to be reframed, re-looked at? Could it go? Is it something that I need to talk about? And where and when are you getting the audience involved? Do you have specific times? When you do a specific talking point, when you change subjects ever so slightly, when you go into your story, when you go into telling a client story, when you go into educating on a specific point, what is that point where you go, this is where I need to open it out to the audience? Maybe you have a talking point that is actually a part where you include the audience and it is literally your time to go out or to connect with the audience, and you choose that in the moment. I think that definitely comes more with experience and, the more you've been on stage, and if you've been on stage, 20 plus times, you'll have mastered this. It's something that you'll be able to just wing it and do. If you're planning and preparing for, you know, your first or second event, you are definitely going to, I'd say if you've done anything under 5 speaking engagements, you're going to want to have more structure involved. Some audiences will be harder work than others as well. So some you will really need to spoon feed, and some maybe not so much. Maybe not so much. I had the absolute pleasure of coaching a number of clients for one event quite recently, and it was a business conference, but everyone there was a female entrepreneur, and the power in that room, like the energy of that room, was wild. You know, the response and the level of response was so powerful, so powerful. And everyone in the audience gave themselves fully. That is rare. That is very unusual. I will say female-only events that are very community-based have a very special power to them, a very different energy to them, which this one was, in comparison to other events where sometimes people go and they don't want to be there. You know, maybe somebody from their company has sent them. So things like that are things you need to bear in mind. But when you have points to talk around, you are able to be slightly more fluid with what you do. And you bring that human connection, that scripted robot version you on stage cannot bring. So next time you're putting together your speech, or maybe you're putting together a new speech right now, or your first speech, I want you to go and take a look at what your talking points are and scrap the script. Scrap the script. That could be a whole new hashtag, a whole new thing. Scrap the script, use talking points instead. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because I know this is a controversial topic. This is something that you might watch this and have disagreed the whole time, or felt uncomfortable, or felt, you know, less supported by talking points than you do with a script. I want to know. I want to know how you feel about it, and I want to know if you've got any questions, because I can do, you know, a part 2, part 3, an extended version of this. But I wanted to give you a different angle for your speaker toolkit to really deliver an incredible speech. This also is so useful if, for example, last minute, your speech is changed to a panel or an interview sort of setup. You can still do the same thing. You can do this on a podcast. This is very similar to if you are, you know, hosting your own podcast, or you're being interviewed, you're an interviewee on the podcast, or on, you know, some sort of conversation interview of any kind, and you have sort of, you know what you're going to be asked, or you know what you're going to be asking, you know what you're going to be talking about, but it's not scripted so heavily that you can't break that structure, because then you won't know how to get back in. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next episode.